we have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another edition of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. It's the two regulars with you. It's me, Jack Sessions, and Neil Shah. Neil, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. I've got Anfield vibes for Tottenham tonight. How weird's that?
Oof, well, mate, that's a good omen. We were just discussing it, weren't we? So you've seen those days a little bit better than me, but we all remember it. So I don't know about relying on them, but we'll get to that. But before we do, penultimate weekend of the Premier League season, going to Old Trafford. Before this, we'd had one win in 16 appearances at Old Trafford, I believe, and 6 in 44. So although we went there, Neil, and I think all of us predicted, you and James predicted that we would go there and win. We did. I'm not sure we exactly believed it would happen in the manner that it happened, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But I do think there is something about certain teams at certain stadiums and the history and the sort of legacy, if you like, and the badge, the stadium, the rivalry that plays into it. And I think if you're an Arsenal fan, has been one over the last 30 years, there's been a huge rivalry with Arsenal and Man United, even to the extent where I'm not even sure if their current fans, certainly around my age group, regard us as a bigger rival than Man City, to be honest, because of that rivalry that we grew up with, and I think that sort of filters a little bit to the players. So it never really matters who we come up against. When the lineups were announced, I saw a lot of things on Arsenal Twitter about, if we don't win this, we're a joke. And I've refused to look at the Manchester United lineup. I don't know about you, but I just refused to look at it because I was like, I know they're not starting a lot of their starters. And I also know that it doesn't really matter because I know how this game can get. We all remember the game, I think it was 15-16 or maybe 16-17 when they played a lot of kids and they were injured, and I think we had to win to sort of keep our hopes alive, and we went there and lost, and I was like, I'm not getting sucked into this is going to be an easy game or anything like that. No, we didn't change the lineup. I think it's the first time he started a team, 4 consecutive games all season, same lineup. I didn't have an issue with that. Maybe in hindsight, you might say there were some concerns about Thomas Partey and things like that. Neil, overall, we got the win. We now hand over the pressure to Manchester City a little bit. You could argue that they don't necessarily feel pressure, but hey, we're putting it on them as much as we can. You got to be delighted with that. We've done pretty much all we can do. If we go and beat Everton on the last day, can you hold your hands up and say, it's been a great season, 27 wins, the most ever we've had in the Premier League, best clean sheets record, I believe, one of the least goals conceded, second most least goals conceded away from home in the Premier League other than Chelsea. I think it's been a fantastic season, no matter what, right?
Absolutely, and I think most goals scored as well now in this season, I think.
What, we at 89, something like that?
Yeah, with one game to go. And I'm pretty sure we'll score against Everton, but we'll look at that near the end of the pod, I suppose. No, it's been amazing. You've got to be so proud of the whole setup, players, coaching team, and Arteta. You have to be. How can you not? We've scored. We've got the best record against the old top 6. I think it is
undefeated. Yeah,
22 points out of 30 undefeated. I think 4 draws and then 6 wins or whatever it was. No one else has done that. If you look at progression just from that point of view, we used to get hammered by literally all of them, maybe barring Tottenham in that list, but everyone else would get humiliated. It was embarrassing, right, at times. And unfortunately, and very sadly, a lot of that was under Wenger. And we used to say, didn't we don't want him ruining his legacy. We had those chats so many times, and I was thinking, oh my gosh. And I looked from there, a very young manager in his first job, yes, he had a couple of difficult seasons, finishing 8th and 8th. And then he was runner-up last season. He's guaranteed runner-up this season. And what I was thinking about yesterday, when I think I was watching the highlights, that Jack, you and I and James and all the rest of whoever we've been speaking to in the last few years, what we were talking about then, Jack, we were talking about, Champions League. We've got to get into Champions League. Got to get into Champions League. That's a must. Now we're talking about titles. And how quickly do you think about how quickly that's turned around?
Amazing.
Right? We were always saying for so long that we're so far behind City and Liverpool. We're so far behind. It's going to take years to get anywhere close to them. We're running City right to the edge, the limit. People are saying that they're not as good. What do you mean they're not as good? I mean, at the end of the day, they're still a machine, no matter what, however you look at it. I think personally, we've played the better football throughout. I think we've played nicer football. It's been entertaining to watch, and I will say that despite being an Arsenal fan, not being biased, I genuinely believe that. Not saying the City are not playing good football, they are, but I think over the season, I think we have, and it will be a bit of a shame if we don't quite, edge it on the weekend. But I'm not going to be on that bandwagon where people are going to get upset and then start nitpicking for the season and say, well, we should have done better there, we should have done better there. I don't think we could have done much better. Yeah, of course, there's a couple of losses here and there, but look at how our mentality, our heads did not drop. Jack, look at our last few results away. We beat Tottenham away. We've beaten Manchester United away. We thumped Chelsea at home. Ordinarily, those three teams would have been so difficult to get past. And every single time we've done it, we've known that Manchester City are there and thereabouts. So it's been not a case of beating those teams, but we've also had the pressure on us. They're talking about we're keeping the pressure on Man City, but we've also had the pressure on us, right? Especially after losing to Villa. It's been so difficult. And for us to keep going and having that mentality and not letting our heads drop has been absolutely terrific. I honestly, I'm not going to get involved in anyone who starts saying, oh, well, we should do better and we really should be winning it and this and that. We've come second 2 seasons running to arguably the best team in the whole world at the moment. So I'm sorry, I'm very, very proud. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I promised myself if we beat Everton and beat Man Utd, obviously we still got to go and beat Everton. But if we do that, I wasn't going to overanalyze it, and I wasn't going to be someone that nitpicks at every little drop point that we had throughout the season. If you're nitpicking back, I've seen people nitpicking back to sort of games in early December and things like that. I'm like, stop it, stop doing it. If you want to do it to yourself to make yourself miserable, fair enough, do it. But the only thing I would look at if I was looking at a collective thing, Neil, is the reaction to defeats earlier in the season and not having them in clusters. Is that something we can react to quicker next season? But even then, I feel stupid in saying it. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like when you evaluate it as a whole, fantastic season, probably beyond our wildest dreams. I know we felt we would improve on last season. We have done already. But it's just really, really hard to look at it, especially, since January, which is amazing since January. Just a fantastic level performance. I think it's like 46 points out of 51. I said to you, 1 draw and 1 defeat. I mean, it's incredible. 29 goals scored away from home, 3 conceded. And 2 of those were those stupid goals at Tottenham that weren't really goals, let's be honest. I mean, we'd already won. So it's just incredible. But Neil, I mean, we should talk about the game a little bit. I mean, we started really fast. I thought we started in the first few minutes. I was like, wow, they're not getting out here. We just looked like we were all over them. And Saka had a little early shot that went straight into the keeper. I went, okay, that's the start of many to come. And then it turned into quite a relatively drab affair, really, for a game of this magnitude, if you like. And we didn't seem to be able to impose ourselves with the ball too much. And it felt like our midfield was not connecting at all. I felt it was Partey's worst game since he'd come back into the team. He was losing possession easily. I felt Odegaard was quite the same. Declan Rice had 13 touches in the first half, which I think represents how sort of away from the game he was, when almost always he's so present and obvious. I don't think it was really particularly anything they did, though I felt they were much more compact than they've been all this season. After losing 4-0, I guess, your goal is to just try to keep things compact and tight. So I guess that was understandable. Neil, we got the job done, but do you think that's more down to what we said at the start of the podcast, which is sort of the playing against that sort of team, or maybe the moment in the season and nerves, or do you think it was a sort of poor day with the ball?
I can't figure out what it was, to be honest, because in theory and on paper we should have wiped the floor with them, and it looked like we were going to do that. You're absolutely right. The first few minutes I was like, oh my god, I can't. I was like thinking, finally, we're going to smash this team at their ground. Finally, after all those years of humiliation. And then, I don't know, you're absolutely right. It was like almost one moment in the game, and we just changed into a team that were sitting back. I felt like we were really sitting back. We were very disjointed, pedestrian, and it's almost as if it was like, okay, now all you do is just sit there. I think off the ball, I mean, I'm not whiz with these formations and positions and stuff, but I think off the ball we were playing a very deep 4-4-2 and just hoping for a counter. And I wasn't quite sure why that was, and whether it was simply we just want to get that one goal, get the job done, doesn't matter how we do it. I remember had Arteta spoken of Wenger's words, or had spoken to Wenger himself and said that in the run-in, you just win. It doesn't matter how you win. And whether that had played on his mind and that had influenced his tactics, I don't know. I mean, end of the day, we know that Arteta's very much his own man, Jack. I know he's had great influences from Pep and Wenger, arguably two of the greatest managers of recent times, especially in England. But you'd like to think Arteta isn't that kind of person. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I think you're absolutely right. Whilst, people are talking about Partey, and I still think his inclusion was correct, by the way. I really like the way. I mean, look, if you look at our recent results, especially following Villa's defeat, who's featured in all the games has been him. And I think, as I said earlier, I don't know if it was on the pod or to you guys on the chat, I think his risk is necessary. I know Jorginho might be a little bit better on the ball, but I think Partey still think forward-wise is maybe the better option. And I just thought it's worth the risk. We have to take risks. We have to get results. It doesn't matter how. But you're right, it wasn't just Partey. I think generally a lot of the team were poor, Jack. But I can't figure out what the reason was, actually. Now, yes, they've just come off a humiliating defeat. And they're not going to want to repeat that at home, are they? Especially in front of that crowd. They're just not going to want to do it. So maybe they set up. But I didn't see anything really that impressive from them, apart from Garnacho. Apart from Garnacho, I didn't see anything impressive. I couldn't really figure out what it was. I think it was actually a poor display by both teams. But what I will say is there's one player that stood out for me, and I'm sure we're going to talk about him, is Rolls-Royce Saliba. He was absolutely imperious. And the stats just, portray his performance. He came first in everything, duels, aerials, tackles, everything you can think of. He came first. He was magnificent. And, he deservedly got the man of the match. But apart from that, I thought it was a poor game. But we saw it out and we got the job done. And that's it. It's what counts.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think, if I'm honest, reflecting on it, and I haven't watched the game again because it wasn't one of those that you want to go back and watch, really. I mean, I didn't feel great towards the end of that game, to be honest, but it felt very similar to Tottenham in that sense. I wonder if goals under Arteta, especially away from home in big games, change games. I think we saw it a little bit at Tottenham. The difference there was we played 2-0 or 3-0 football at 2 or 3-0. This one felt like we were playing it, but we were only 1-0 up, and it felt... I felt that way a few times under Arteta, where we dropped deep a little bit too early for my liking. I think if you think before the goal, Neil, I think it was actually quite close to normal Arsenal. We had a few chances, few openings, even maybe that 4 or 5 minutes after the goal. I think Ben White flashed one past the post, and we had some nice football. And you felt like we were certainly the side in the ascendancy. Look, don't get me wrong, even though Manchester United had more of the ball, when you look at this game in totality, all the good chances came to us. I mean, they did not have a chance. They had 2 shots on target, one from 30 yards from Casemiro, which was a speculative effort, and a dribbler from Anthony that just rolled into David Raya's hands. It shouldn't really have counted as a shot on target. So for all the ball we gave to them, we as a collective team actually looked very comfortable with it. I think this is a fan, especially as an Arsenal fan, I think we've still got a ways to go to get truly comfortable with watching games like this and being without the ball for so long. And I don't think it's Arteta's intention, because every time he speaks after games like this, he always says, we didn't do exactly what we were supposed to do. But I do wonder if the team is so good. We are an off-the-ball team, right? Well, I mean, we're not but we are so good off the ball. I wonder if when you get a goal like this in a nervy moment, second to last game of the season, with so much on the line, I wonder if you fall back into, not habits, but fall back into a sense of comfort. And I think we're really comfortable without the ball. It's just not very comfortable from a fan's perspective, because this is Arsenal Football Club, and for years and years and years we've been brought up to dominate the ball and have the ball. But having the ball without any real ascendancy or urgency or threat, that's not dominance. That's just having, that's just having pointless possession. And I think that's really what we were seeing for 70 odd minutes in this game. I think but the frustration was we felt maybe we could lay down a little bit of a marker at Old Trafford and really lay it on them. But I think we still laid down that marker, because in the end the result's all that matters, and that's all we'll remember. So, and there's nothing better than 1-0 to the Arsenal at Old Trafford. But Neil, we go back and forth, but the goal, I mean, you've got to laugh before you say about our brilliance at Casemiro, haven't you? I mean, that's pub-like schoolboy sort of defending, isn't it? I mean, the one thing they didn't change in this game is they still play Johnny Evans and Casemiro at the back. And the way, I'm sure when you saw it, you were like, well, let's wait for the review here, because Havertz looked a mile offside and he was a mile onside, which is just hilarious. But thoughts on the goal? And again, Tross is on fire. He's just been absolutely terrific in this last stages.
Casemiro makes me laugh. I mean, it was like he just didn't even make an effort to get back on side, did he? It was ridiculous. It was crazy. I mean, you got so much stick for it, especially in that half time, and then obviously at the end of the game, so much stick. I mean, Roy Keane's face just was a picture that said a million words, really, about him. They really went into the whole Man United way, the way they set out and playing, and a lot of people were talking about the injuries and stuff, but I don't think. They weren't. I mean, Roy Keane, no, he's not having it. He's just saying that's just basically calling it bollocks in without using the word, really. But it's still a great goal. And if you think about, firstly, from 2 people, Ben White, I think, laid it off to Havertz. That's how it started. But what I loved about Havertz running to the byline, he took his time. He almost like was measuring up as and when to release the ball, because he, unlike Martinelli, who plays with his head down when he runs with the ball, Havertz was kind of looking up and to see and judge as and when, Trossard was going to be at the right place at the right time. So I think Havertz done very well just with that. It's still a very, very good move by him. And let's just quickly say how amazing he's been. I would say he's been the player of this year. I know that might be a bit controversial, but personally, from my opinion, I think he's the most improved. I said it in the last pod. I think he's the most improved player, and he's had so much influence, Jack. It's been ridiculous. If it weren't for him this year, we wouldn't have had the results we had. It's as simple as that. I do not care what anyone says. I know Declan Rice has been amazing. I know Saka gets his numbers. I know Trossard has been on fire, as you said a minute ago. But Havertz has had a lot of influence on what we've achieved. So a round of applause to him for starters. But Trossard is, look, I think we play very kind of focused on the right. And I still think the left is kind of left out at times. And if you look back on this match, he didn't have much influence until really the goal for me. But he, as well as I mentioned how well, Havertz, by this time, that was a good run by Trossard as well. I don't know who the guy's name is, AB, but he just kind of
I think it was.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
And he'd done what any good winger would do. That's a proper winger's role, that is. And he just ran in and he was there at the right time. Yes, it's an easy goal, tap in, but you still have to be at the right place at the right time. So I think Havertz and Trossard deserve equal credit for that goal for me. But Trossard is just the way I've just lauded on Havertz there. He's scored, he's got the numbers as well. He's got 12 goals now, I think it
12
is.
12 goals, 1 assist, exactly the same numbers as Freddie Ljungberg in 2002.
Oh, there are too many funny little...
It really reminded me of, do you remember when we went down to 10 men at Anfield?
Yeah.
The gold shirt, and Perez was breaking, and he cut it inside and then went to the byline and crossed it for Ljungberg. It was exactly the same goal, Neil, but it was just on the opposite side of the field. He reminds me a lot of people have said about the Ljungberg link, but he's a very much off the ball sort of clutch player that puts finishing touches, just amazing.
He is. He's a really, really useful player. I think he's coming up to 30 now, isn't it? Which is a little bit of a shame because, he's getting to the age where...
Is he 29 already?
I think so. I think he might be.
Check it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
yeah, you're right.
Look at Ronaldo. He's Portuguese as well, by the way, as well. I mean, he's still playing, and he's around 58 now. He's still probably one of the fittest men alive. But, so look, I'm not trying to say that Trossard's at it and he's finished now. I think, it'll be good for another 2-3 seasons, I think, at least. And, people saying that at this age now, he's going to lose pace. But he's not a player that plays with pace, really, is he? He's more about
I don't think it will massively affect him.
I don't think it affects him. Yeah, Martinelli, people like Theo. Remember when Theo, you could tell that, right? When once he drops off, what is he going to, how effective is he going to be? But I don't think Trossard plays like that. A couple of moments we've seen that, wow, look at that pace he's got. I've been really surprised because he doesn't play his football that way, I think. He's different. That's why he's different to Martinelli. Although they've got the same position, Martinelli is all about pace and frightening defenders with it. I don't think Trossard's like that. He plays differently. And I think he's, if anything, and this is no discredit to Martinelli, I think he's a bit more clever with his positioning, I think Trossard is. And so I don't think that's going to matter as far as I'm concerned. I thought that was brilliant by him. And he has been an influence as well as Havertz. He seems to do it in the big games, right? He's got some very, very good, critical goals against the bigger teams. And he's not afraid. He plays without fear. And I just love his influence. And I think I'm still going to say he's the best January signing I think we've made. I really believe it, Jack.
Yeah, you said it.
Reyes, I think I've got a very emotional attachment. So obviously because tragically we lost him. Yeah. But, and he was a great player, apart from being kicked off the park when he came to them.
And he won big things with us, yeah.
And he won, and he did. And yes, there are a couple of others, but I just think that Trossard has been incredible. And the other thing of note is I think Trossard is going to get better. He's a player that's going to continually improve with the club. And I can't see, I can't see him not featuring a lot again next season. I think he's going to be pivotal again next season. So congratulations to him and Havertz, both of them, I think equally.
Yeah, I mean, Havertz is the biggest goal contributor in the league since 2024, other than Cole Palmer. Most away contributions in terms of goals, 4 goals, 4 assists since 2024, only battered by De Bruyne away from home. So, no, he's been fantastic. I mean, we've really settled on that front three because they've really turned up in the big moments. Saka, he's a must start because he just always he's got a knack for always showing up against big teams, and he is the most consistent of our forwards. He just has been over the last 2 years. He's the most consistent in terms of availability and his numbers. So you can't he's a must-start player, right? He's just unbelievable. But Trossard edging his way in front of Martinelli is really interesting to me, and it creates a thought process in terms of left wing. And I love Martinelli just like you do, but I think you do really see some of the things in terms of Trossard's experience, in terms of his movement. Like, I'm not certain the current Martinelli makes that run. I oftentimes feel like Martinelli keeps himself too wide and his head's too down for too long, and he takes too many touches at times. Trossard's almost the polar opposite. I mean, he never really takes the extra touch. Trossard, he always does things with foot out and boom, he'll get a shot off straight away. And I think at this point in time, you where games are maybe going to be down to a few chances and things like that, you really you need those types of players around. And sometimes players come to the forefront in the big games, and Kai Havertz and Trossard are really proving to be really, really important in the latter stages of the season. And it's good that, because it shows you typically from experience, those players that do it in the really big moments when it really matters, they'll do it again and again. And you knew it already with Saka, I felt, to a degree, but we didn't know this with Kai Havertz, really. We knew he'd done it in the Champions League with Chelsea, but and we didn't really know it with Trossard, because he'd never played for a club at this level. So it's becoming really apparent that these two are players that are going to be really, I think, pivotal to the front six at least next season, to be honest. And but at that point, you feel like that's a huge thing to get the first goal at Old Trafford. We've had big 1-0 wins there in the past that have meant a lot, but oftentimes those goals have come later, so you didn't really sort of think of that at that moment. You were like, well, ages to go, get back in and keep playing, and I still felt, in the first half we had the better chances. The Ben White one that went past the post, they didn't really trouble us. I think Højlund had a chance, but he slipped, and that was probably a moment of lapse, from us. I don't know if it was Partey, might have been Partey that lost the ball. Our disconnect did concern me a little bit in midfield. I think what we did see, Neil, like you, I agreed with the Partey decision, and I still agree with it. I maybe don't agree that he stayed on for as long as he did, but I definitely agree that he should have started. I think what you do see, though, from games like this, Neil, is when everything goes really well, Partey's like the best midfielder in the league. I mean, if you're playing well when you're peppering Chelsea with 27 shots in a game, Thomas Partey is the best 60 in the league. I mean, he just looks so smooth and silk. But when he makes the odd dodgy pass early on, and he seems a little bit leggy and like he can't get the ball out of his feet, and you can just tell early on with Partey, it's not the day for him. You really see what we're looking for in the future, number 6, perhaps, in a player that doesn't maybe offer such defensive vulnerability and has a little bit more athleticism about him to get about the pitch, And I think, in this game, I kind of watched down and went, okay, this is almost a good thing, because it's showing us what we need from a player that's not Jorginho, it's not Partey, it's somewhere in between, but it's someone that has the qualities of both. And I think that was important to kind of see in a way, maybe for next season at least. Luckily, we got away with it, because I did think Partey was poor. I know he got blasted on social media, but I think he is also an easy target. He's just come back into the team. Obviously he's not been playing all season, and Rice and Odegaard have been two of our best players this season. But I did feel Rice and Odegaard were pretty poor alongside him and our collective midfield. And we were lucky that they had Amrabat and a young Mainu in there who didn't really impose themselves at all, had a lot of the ball, but again it was just sort of pointless possession, I felt. So, but second half I was pretty nervous. I was pretty nervous in the second half. I felt like the crowd were. United fans started singing, almost like they didn't really care what the result was. It was kind of that kind of chanting I was hearing. It was just this constant chant over and over again. And they didn't have a lot to play for, did they? And I always worry with that, because then the players kind of feel like, they're a bit freer. And everything was on the line for us. It was a real, risky moment. I wonder how comfortable you feel with us, but we just looked so comfortable in just giving them the ball. And that is, I'm so impressed by it, after the game. During the game, I'm screaming, every name you can think of. But after the game, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm so impressed. But the one player that really stood out, you have to say, I think David Raya might be second to it, but I think Saliba, like you mentioned earlier in the podcast, just amazing. And it is incredible that he's not really been mentioned in sort of players of the year or teams of the year even. I think Neville put him in his, but that's about it. But he has been, probably alongside Gabriel, this has been the best centre-backs in the league for me. I mean, people talking about Van Dijk, I think they're talking about him from 3-4 years ago, to be honest, because I've seen him make huge errors when we've played him. So, but he is just immense. At 22-0, I don't remember a 22-year-old in this league doing this, but tell me if I'm wrong. I don't even remember at Arsenal. Like Adams wasn't this young, I don't think, doing it. Campbell was a lot older. Toure even. It's almost unprecedented, isn't it?
I agree. Adams took time to, although he was so young when we lifted the title in Anfield, but he was a leader. That was the thing. With Adams, he was a leader right from day one. And I think that's why George Graham recognised that in him and gave him the captain's armband. So he lifted the title in '89 as captain. I still think he's one of the only players that as captain has won the top flight division trophy or title in 3 different decades. I don't think there's anyone that's done that. So, but he got better as he aged. You're right. He made some howlers when he was younger. Absolute howlers. It was newspaper. In those days, it was newspapers, Jack. We didn't have technology.
Of course. I remember those days.
Remember that,
I remember the newspaper days.
I've got. Sorry to digress. I've got a suitcase. Every time we beat Liverpool, you would love it. I thought maybe I should take them out one day and send them to you because I think you every newspaper with every major Liverpool win, because it was about Liverpool and Arsenal in those days. The rivalry before it was Man United and Arsenal, well before that. And, I've got literally every newspaper from all the papers. I'd go out, I'd get out. I'd be like a newspaper boy, but not to deliver, but to buy it, just so that I could keep all those back pages of Arsenal winning. And there was when it wasn't going well for Adams, he'd like be pitched with donkey ears and all sorts of things. And so he grew into the role. He became a great player. Like, as you said with Sol Campbell, Saliba is doing it from such a ridiculously young age. That on 58 minutes, that is one of the best tackles I've seen all season. Again, mentioning Garnacho, I thought he was really the only threat if there was any from them. And I thought, oh no, and that was from a Saka, real bad ball from Saka. He just gave the ball away when we had actually a chance to attack. I'm sure that is the moment. And if I'm wrong, I apologise, but I think it's from Saka's mistake that they had an attack. And he was just ridiculous. I could be wrong on that one, but whatever it was, Garnacho was running with the ball at pace. And then Saliba, it was like, I thought, Saliba, what are you doing? Why are you go into it? What are you doing? You're standing there, you're backing off. What are you doing? He just watched it. He watched it. And then bang. What precision. Just
in the
one
box.
foot out. 1 foot out. I know. 1 foot out. Exactly. 1 foot out. And he just stopped him in his tracks. Calm as you like. I think if there's any moment, I mean, there are many, many that you could choose, but if there's any moment to describe what Saliba is in terms of calmness personified, in complete control, because that is what he gives you, that's that moment. Just get people to watch that moment. If you're with your students and you want to describe something like that about defensive play, just get real of that realm. You'll be proud to do it anyway, Jack, I'm sure. Unbelievable. I mean, look, I think him with Gabriel is the best defensive player in the league. I don't care what anyone says about Liverpool or wherever else it is. I think they are. Whereas Gabriel's a bit more, he runs with more emotional, he's more physical, and I think, and it works. Where Saliba is more in control, he's more calm. I think he's more silky with the way he goes about things. But they just work so well together. And they need to be together for a long, long time. This is my worry. He's so good, Saliba. And he's so young. And I'm now thinking the big major world players are going to start looking at him and maybe try and entice him with very, very lucrative deals. We have to win a trophy next season, Jack. If it's not going to be this weekend, we have to bag a trophy. Again, I'm not saying it because I want trophies. Well, I do want trophies, but I'm not a trophy hunter. But my worry is the younger players may start thinking, I'm playing really good football and I'm very, very good. I'm not saying they will straight away. But
you get Anelka vibes with him.
I don't actually.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Where you watched Anelka and you just sort of felt he's not going to be around for very long. But the difference with Anelka was he had this agency and his brother was running.
Yeah.
So he was run badly. Yeah. Really, it ruined his career in a way. He won't admit that, I don't think. I think there's a movie about him, which is quite interesting, but you don't sense that with Saliba. It's really interesting, actually. I forget what it's called in Nicholas Anelka movie. It's very interesting. Talks about his career. He actually doesn't talk. I've got to remind myself, I don't think he talks that fondly about some of the key members at Arsenal, which annoyed me a lot, especially for what we'd done for him. And sort of, his best moments of his career, in my sorry, gone off track, were Arsenal led. Even when he went to Madrid and Liverpool and Bolton, his best moments were always at Arsenal. But you don't get that sense. I mean, you get the sense that I know there was a sort of problem beforehand, but you do get the sense that Saliba's. I know we have to win things. You're absolutely right. I think that's not just Saliba. That's probably 4 or 5 others that we could say that about, but. You do get the sense that there's a real strong connection now, at least, between him and the club and the manager, where that maybe a year or two we didn't feel that. Maybe what I'm saying is, you're right, but maybe you're definitely right. Next year or two, we've got to go big.
Jack, I don't. The reason why I said I don't get the Anelka vibes, I seem quite happy. He's quite happy. He seems really happy. Look at we talk about Gabriel's getting emotional with celebrations. Have you seen him? You've seen him, haven't you?
Yeah.
He goes mental as well. He's always banging his hand on the chest and really going for it, especially when it's a final whistle. It's a good win. No. I'm not saying it's immediate. I'm just saying I'm concerned if, say, we don't win anything in the next 2 seasons. You can't blame him then, can you, for wanting to? I'm so good. I need to be winning things at the top level, and I kind of get it. As much as I'll hate it, especially if you keep running this close. Imagine if we're doing 3 or 4 seconds in a run, and we're like, oh my God, what do we need to do to win? But look, let's talk about today, and I just think he's magnificent. And just going off point a little bit, one interesting thing that. Michael said in his pod, and I think he said it on the chat as well. He said that I don't know if it's true, but they kind of watered down in the first half our side of the pitch, and that's why players were slipping. And it's only because you mentioned Garnacho and he slipped with that shot. Was it? No, not Garnacho. That was Højlund, wasn't it? Højlund, or what his name is. And he slipped, and Michael was laughing. Goes, well, that backfired on them because although we were slipping. If that pitch hadn't been that wet, maybe he would have had that shot on target, which is true. And talking about shots on target for them, Garnacho was the only player that actually had a shot in the box. That's how good we were in defence. So you were talking about...
Though, that one, didn't it? It didn't go on target, that one.
Oh, yeah, it might have even been wide, yeah.
It must have only had 2.
Yeah, and so, I think he's at full time, he was the only one that had done from within the box. Yeah. So that just showed how defensively. I think that's the stat that Arsenal themselves have put up. So I think that because I was surprised at that, but I think that is true because I was looking back at the highlights and I'm sure there was more than one, but maybe it's true.
The other one was Anthony from the edge of the box that just it was just a P roller. I think I remember with Garnacho, there was a couple of moments where Ben White just was getting turned a bit easy from him. That's why Saliba was so good because he recognised the danger. And he's had player of the match at Anfield, at the Etihad, and now at Old Trafford. I mean, he's been elite, and I think that might be those kind of performances just what pips him ahead of Gabriel in terms of. I mean, I actually think he should be in shout for player of the season, at least in the top 6. I'm stunned that he isn't, but not really because these awards are a joke. But I really do. I mean, when you look at what he is, his age, everything, I'm kind of stunned that he isn't in that. But Garnacho got to the byline once and he crossed it, and David Raya sort of come out and made a great palming save out into our players. And I do think the other player defensively that was really calm again was David Raya's handling from crosses again, his ability to understand the moment and sit on the ball when he needed to. He's just calm. He's just so calm. I know he can make the odd error just like any top goalkeeper does, but overall I'm seeing teams of the season from Monday Night Football yesterday, and they're putting Emi Martinez and Pickford in it. I mean, he's been, not just because of his clean sheets, he's been the best goalkeeper in the league this season. I actually don't think it's even close. The only argument I think up until sort of January, February was Alisson, but then he was injured for 3 months. So you can't, and then he made a lot of errors as well. Of course, the one at the Emirates, ran out and collided with Van Dijk. I mean, big errors in big games that cost them, So he's won the Golden Glove without playing half a dozen games. I mean, and it's not just because of Saliba and Gabriel. You can't have it both ways either. I'm seeing teams this season with none of our defenders in it. So either David Raya has been absolutely unbelievable, or our defence has. It can't be neither. I mean, it has to be some of them. Everyone goes, it's just Declan Rice. And I'm like, but he's playing in the 8. So it can't be that either. So I'm like, no, to be honest, I think 3 or 4 of our back 5 are probably in the team of the season, in my view. I mean, we've been by far the best defensive team in the league. Attacking wise, you can make an argument either way, but defensive wise, we have been by far the best. And that's something we've not had our defence at this level for a while. Certainly since sort of that 2002-2004 period, nothing to this level at all. And I think it's only going to get better hopefully next season, especially with who coming back in on the left side possibly. But what do you think about the subs? We brought on Martinelli, we brought on Jesus. I didn't particularly think our subs were that great, but Martinelli was definitely involved, and him and Rice had again 2 of the best chances the second half. And Martinelli, it was actually a little bit unlucky. It was a good save by Onana. It was saved pretty well, but he was a little bit livelier, wasn't he, Martinelli? You just kind of wish he looks like a player that just needs a goal, doesn't he?
I was going to say exactly that. I thought actually of his latest substitution appearances, this was his best. I think maybe because we were so dire in the sense of, not dire as in we were rubbish, but rubbish in the sense that we weren't putting anything together, as mirrored by Man United as well. We were elite defensively. Can I just quickly say before we talk about Martinelli and the subs, I think you were right. What you said earlier about how controlled we were, when you look at it afterwards, during the game, you are a nervous wreck. But afterwards, when you look back, actually, we were so controlled defensively. Yes, our midfield wasn't ticking, and maybe our forwards weren't ticking, but defensively, we were so good, and that's what won us the game. I think at the end of it, as bad as Man United were and really weren't creating much, but we still had a job to do at the back, right? And you're completely vindicated by talking about Raya, because what his performance reminded me of, especially, was the way he was calm. All right, he made that mistake for Tottenham to get back in the game, but after that, he was just calmness, epitomised really. And the way he played there, where he was so calm collecting the balls. I love the way when he collects it, he just falls down and on top of it and smothers it. I love that, because especially when you're winning a game, that kind of eats up a few seconds as well. He could just simply catch the ball and then just carry, pass it or get a move going, but he kind of calmly collects it, makes sure he smothers the ball, and I love that about him. You were right to mention him. I think he's been wonderful. He deserves the Golden Glove for sure, just despite the great defence in front of him. So I think that was a great point you made. But what I saw about Martinelli was he was more live. He's the liveliest I've seen him since he came on. And again, I don't know, it's because everyone else was a little bit in second gear or even not even out of first gear, so he just looked livelier. But that run he made was a great run. I think it was Odegaard that passed it to him. He made a really good run, and that was just unlucky. That was a good left-handed save. I mean, if Onana, whatever his name is, didn't have his left hand, we would have had 3 goals. Because he did it with his shot, and then he did it with Declan Rice's shot as well. Great strong left hand, to be fair. Really good save. And I don't know what else Martinelli could have done. That was a good run by him. That was him. That reminded me of Martinelli when he was on form and when he was at his best. It was just the goalkeeper that kept it up. So that might be a good omen, but it's a bit too late now. I don't think he'll start on Sunday, by the way. I still think he'll stick with Trossard. But who knows, if we need him and if he's playing that way again, then maybe it'll be a good thing. You and I both said, Jack, he needs a goal. He certainly needs a goal, and he's not got it. And that was unlucky. I felt bad for him that day. He made another good. There was another good moment he had in the match. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember 2 good moments from him in his cameo appearance. And Rice was unlucky too, although he wasn't really at the races against Manchester United. I thought he was unlucky with that shot. That was a typical near the end of the game shot from him, wasn't it? And we've seen a couple of those go in recently. So again, another good save by the goalkeeper. But to be honest, it was all academic. We didn't need it. We were comfortable with the 1-0. And I think that, as good as we and as known as we are, as you said, our values and ethics and culture is to play possession football. We have now got the balance now that we can also play without it and play so well without it. And I think we've got, like you were saying, that, maybe we'll learn and get better each season. Maybe as fans, we can take a note of that. And so we should be a bit more confident and trusting and thinking, let's not be so nervous when we're not playing with the ball, because look how well we do without it. So brilliant stuff from with that. Jesus, I just don't think it to be honest, the way the match was going, I didn't think the substitutes were going to make much difference anyway, to be honest. I don't know. I didn't really focus too much on him. My mind was more on Martinelli. I don't know who else came on, by the way. Was it just those two? Or was
Jorginho came on as well for maybe the last 5 or 10. But what was really funny when Jesus, it wasn't anything Jesus did, but there was a point where Ten Hag made about 3 subs, a lot of youngsters, because they didn't have, of course, they have so many injuries. Most expensive club in world football, bringing on Anthony for 90 million. Their front line still cost more than ours, I believe, starting. Their back line was probably costing more than ours. Their goalkeeper cost more than ours. But, they didn't have any options. He's a strange human being, Ten Hag. There's just something a bit odd about him. I know some other managers, you go, I don't like Klopp and stuff like that, but they're not odd people. He's an odd human being.
Let's hope he stays.
I mean, you could tell. What was he wearing, by the way? What was it? I mean, he's wearing like a brown suit with a polo underneath.
The commentator made a comment on that.
Yeah, and black trainers. I'm like, did he get dressed in the dark? He got dressed in the dark. What is he doing? He's a multi-millionaire, this bloke, and he looks like he's going down to play bowls. I mean, what is wrong with this human being? As soon as I saw his suit, I went, yeah, that's us. We've won. Right, that was like, there's no way we're losing this game with him. Look at him, look at the state of him. But there was a moment, I don't know if you've seen the clip, I'll have to send it to you, but they send on the 3 players. Anthony came on about 5 minutes before it, and because they've sent on these 3 players, they reshuffle it and they send Anthony to left back, and he's there going, and he's just going like shaking his head, and he walks to left back to mark Gabriel Jesus, and Gabriel Jesus and him just cover their mouths and they're having a little conversation during the game. And it was, now when you watch it back, it's quite funny. I mean, there isn't anyone more delusional in football than that Anthony. I mean, what did he come on looking like? Like he was, I mean, he is the biggest embarrassment that I've ever seen on a football pitch. 90 million for that. I mean, he is a shocking footballer. And you know what the craziest thing about this is? Ten Hag had worked with him before. I mean, he literally knew what this player was, and he said, yes, go and spend the 90 million. And that's where he really falls down, Ten Hag. Even if you want to make this argument about injuries and his style of play, and his talent ID has been absolutely dreadful. Casemiro, Anthony, Malacia, 1 or 2 others in Onana. It's been absolutely shocking. Hoyland. It's been really poor, his talent ID, and all these excuses of, we couldn't afford Kane. I was like, you've spent fortunes, mate. Fortunes. And they might not even get Europa League, because they play Newcastle on Wednesday, don't they? So it's kind of all down to that one, isn't it? But it'd be hilarious if they fell out into the conference or something. Oh, that'd be hilarious. But so yeah, it was really fun, and there was no stress at the end of the game, really. I mean, I was stressed, you were stressed, because it was, one moment when you give a team so much of the ball, it just takes one lapse in concentration or one ball to go across the box and deflect, and you saw Liverpool's Villa's third goal today. I mean, it just sort of deflected off a couple of players and boom, it's in the back of the net. And it took a lot of confidence from us to just sort of say, it's not working on the ball here. We're not playing well with the ball. We're gonna be comfortable not having it and not stress about not having it. And we didn't look like we did. We didn't look like we stressed. We didn't look like we were fighting to get a ball back and connect again. We looked like we knew that our key players weren't at it. And we said, okay, we're up. It's their job. It's the onus is on them fully. show us what you got. And I think we knew they had nothing. And that was what was quite incredible about it, because you just don't expect that at Old Trafford. Doesn't matter what 11 players are on the team sheet, you know. But when you look at our record there, Neil, it's a fantastic win. No matter what, any win would be a fantastic win at this point. And you know, I think the fans there, you know, was pouring down with rain. Amazingly, when you saw the post, I don't know if you saw the post-game interviews and podcasts, but the way the rain was coming down, I'm not even sure if that game goes ahead if it's 30 minutes earlier. I mean, it was that torrential. It was flooding the pitch, apparently. Obviously, it was flooding the Lego set of a stadium they have as well, which was hilarious. But you know, the fans were in great voice, and they were loving it. So that was fantastic. But Neil, where does it? I mean, we know where it leaves us now. What's your thoughts? I want to get 3 predictions from you. I want to get our prediction for the weekend, of course, like we always do. For the first time, I want to do predictions for the 2 City games as well. But what will you be doing tomorrow? I mean, lots of Arsenal fans I've spoken to saying they won't even be watching tomorrow. You know, they're not going to watch it. They ain't watching that. What will you be doing? Give me some optimism. Give me your, you know, what's your feelings on tomorrow? The Man City go to Tottenham. Tottenham, apparently they can't sell any of their seats because no one wants to go to the game. You know, they lots of their players are dropping out of the squad, I'm seeing. It feels, you know, you can never rely on Tottenham. But what's your thoughts?
Before I talk about them not, and like I'm a Tottenham fan, which obviously will never happen until not in my lifetime and not in lifetimes after. If there's such a thing as reincarnation, that's one thing I'll make sure of. Before I mention that, I just want to quickly go back. One thing that we just didn't touch on, it's only because I was annoyed. Gary Neville, you know, when they had a penalty shout.
Good point.
Shout. And he was like, at first he was like, oh yeah, not penalty. And then he was like, look at the replay. He was doing these, oh. And I'm like, what are you owing for? There's no penalty there. He stamped on his foot, idiot. And by virtue of him stamping on his foot, that's why he fell. And he goes, oh, but he's left his leg there. He's on the floor. What do you want to do? What do you want him to do with his legs? You absolute imbecile. He was really looking for a penalty. And I'm like, what are you talking about, mate? Get a grip. It's ridiculous. Look, I know he is pro Man U, but come on, be a bit professional here, mate. You know that's not a penalty. Stop trying to, you know, influence anyone else who's watching that. Oh yeah, that the Arsenal got lucky there. Ridiculous. Ridiculous bloke. Stupid. But anyway, yeah. Oh gosh. So what am I be doing? I don't know is the answer. Ironically, I've been invited onto a pod because they were going, oh, we don't want to watch them at the Tottenham game, so let's do a podcast. I'm like, okay. But I'm sure they'll be keeping an eye on this. So I don't know whether I'm going to do that or not. I'm not sure. If I don't, I probably will watch it, Jack, out of intrigue. I
at least the first 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah. Give us hope. You know what's going to happen? They're going to score first. Tottenham are going to score first, aren't they?
You reckon?
I don't know. I've got this feeling.
Yeah. We all remember the 99, right?
Exactly.
You remember the 99. I think some fans can't take their minds back to 99, but if you remember that when Les Ferdinand scored, I mean, he was almost embarrassed to score, wasn't he? He didn't know what to do.
Ridiculous.
And you knew at that point that goal meant basically nothing. And you're right. If they did, I get the feeling it would be the same sort of. But I don't even see them doing it. But it might be the same sort of vibe. But I mean, they have a very poor record there. That's the one thing to say. I mean, but they did absolutely batter them in a 1-0 win in the FA Cup this season. But in the league, they have a very poor record there. But
they haven't scored.
Yeah, but the problem, I think, if this game was like 5-6 weeks earlier, you know, and
different.
Yeah, different. But and to be honest, they rearranged this game. I think purposely, in a way, to place this here. You know, this game was a rearranged game. It was supposed to be played a few months earlier. It got delayed in its rearrangement, if I'm right in saying it, because of, I think, City's European stuff or something like that. And it's just been rearranged into a pretty, you know, tough time for us now because, you know, it's probably the best moment for them to play them at Spurs, isn't it, really, in that sense? But But the pressure's on them in the sense. I mean, they've got to go there and win it. But you do just get the sense that they looked dreadful even against Burnley. Burnley could have taken something from them, to be honest. I mean, they looked dreadful, and all their players are dropping out of the season like flies with injuries and stuff like that. I think Basuma's just gone down for the season and all this sort of stuff. So,
you're not giving them any chance, are you?
I'm not at all. I mean, I actually give West Ham a bit more chance than them, and I don't give West Ham a lot of chance either. But I'd give West Ham a little bit more chance than them, just because Moyes every now and then will show up at a big moment, every now and then. But I don't really. And when they have done it, Neil, against City, at Spurs, it's been under managers that are very, very defensive. Like Conte and Mourinho, where they sort of go and hit them on the counter. I mean, this manager's the polar opposite of that. He doesn't know how to defend a thing. I mean, he just hasn't got a clue how to defend a thing. So, long shot. What about you? What do you feel? Do you feel there's any chance?
If it's a feeling of hope, it is just that, just hope. It's not anything based on any technical anything you can see technically that Spurs are going to come out with and think that they're better than them. No, in that way. Look, Man City are just flying at the moment now. We all called it. We all said, well, not called it. We just know that they are, the last 10 games of the season, they're a machine. They just win. They don't know what pressure is. So I don't even think they exist in their blooming mentality of any of the players or the manager. This whole blooming setup is ridiculous. If my head says they're going to lose Tottenham, I think I'm just clinging on to something special, something weird, maybe something unexpected happening in the game which throws Man City off. Highly unlikely, but not impossible. That's what I'd say. You're going to laugh. I mean, I might. No, I'm going to say 1-1.
Are you really?
Yeah.
What it? Yeah.
Only because they haven't scored it. Let's score there. It's not going to happen, is it? But you never know, right? I just think they're going to score first, and then Man City will get a late equaliser, and that's it. That'll be 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1.
Man,
fuck, you need my head. I haven't started drinking yet. Not that I drink anymore, but yeah, I'm on the water. I promise. But you're right. You know what? I will say this. I think you're right. I think there's more chance of West Ham doing something, because West Ham have done it, haven't they? In the years gone by, they have kind of done it in the last day of the season. I'm sure there's been instances. I can't remember the exact scenarios, but they have actually produced something where no one expected it to happen. And I've just got this feeling that it could be West Ham more than Tottenham. Look, again, head says Man City are going to win the league. I know I'm not. You know me, I'm positive always, and I still believe. But you've got to believe, Jack. You've got to believe. Us, we're going to win. There is no doubt about it. We're going to win that game. How many times have we played Everton on the last day of the season? It's weird. It's almost like a default fixture.
United and then Everton.
This is what I'm saying. There's so many weird omens, isn't there?
Yeah, it's sad that financial dopers don't care about omens, do they?
I know.
That's the sad part. But all right, you're going 1-1. I'm going to go 4-1 City, which will put an interest in. I mean, obviously, puts them in the driving seat again. Yeah, that's what would be interesting. I have to say on the goal difference front, I thought this for. I mean, there's always a chance, but I find it difficult to believe it comes down to that in a way, because if, for example, they did drop points, I think people aren't taking into account the fact that game means that game is a draw for them. Do you know what I mean? And therefore, you have that advantage in terms your goal difference stays where it is in the sort of +3 bracket if that was to happen or whatever. So I find it difficult to think, even though they've done a lot to catch up on the goal difference. Of course they would, because they can just score at will, City. But yeah, I'll go 4-1. I'm giving Tottenham a 1 there, so that's the positive.
I can't believe you're giving them a goal, Jack.
Well, I know, and I love how their fans are claiming that. We better roll over because then I can really celebrate. I'm like, you roll over for everyone. Okay, you ain't doing it purposely. It's nothing new. You've been losing to everybody, so there's no difference there. But yeah, I don't. Like I said, I don't hold any faith whatsoever there, and it's nothing to do with wanting them to do anything. I want City not to win, not anything else. That's all I'm looking for. But weekend. Give me your Arsenal predictions and your City West Ham, because for you at this point in time, we are now in the driving seat. If they've drawn 1-1, we are now.
It's in our hands. It's in our hands
as long as we score. They don't score 3 more than us, and we win the game. Of course, I believe that's right. If it was to happen. So,
did I freeze there?
Yeah, just briefly, but I didn't say anything crazy. So, in your estimations, we are a +3 goal difference better than them. At the same points. So how are you going to swing this on the final day when you're at the Emirates?
They are not going to beat West Ham 7-0. We're going to win 4-0. 4-0, I reckon, against Everton. We're going to win that. It doesn't matter what the situation is. We're winning. We're beating Everton, and I think we're going to win 4-0. I know Everton are not. They've not been too bad, but we're going to have
a good defensive record. But
but I just think we're going to have too much for them. We're going to be at home. It's the last day. The sun's going to be shining. Everything's going to be in our favour. 4-0, Jack. And I'm actually not even being, too cocky with that. I think that will probably be the result, if not better. So they have to score 7 goals or 8 goals to win it. I don't know.
Who's your first goal scorer for that one? We didn't get the United one right. I think James called 1-0, but he said Martinelli, but he was the closest. We got the result right, so fair play, James.
Yes. First goal scorer will be Rice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Because I think he's going to be upset with his performance, and he'll want to. Yeah, just show.
20.
I think it's 4-0. I think it's 4-0. Do you want my West Ham prediction?
Yeah, go on.
Well, I've said 1-1 Tottenham, so I think West Ham will lose 3-1. No. Do you know what? I'm going to I'll make it interesting. So if it's 1-1 Tottenham, they need to win by 3 clear goals against us. If we get 4, they'll need to win 7-0 or 8-0.
Yeah, 7, because if you end up level on goal difference, it then goes to goals scored, and they are actually ahead. Sorry, you paused again. I'm going to come back in a sec. But, sorry, you paused briefly.
You did as well.
They are, sorry about that. They are ahead of us on goals scored by 2 currently. Yeah. Even in your scenario there, they would still be ahead of us. So they would need to win 7-0 in that
7,
case.
Yeah. Right, so they'll beat West Ham 6-0. How about that? That's for excitement.
Gee, honestly, how many of us are surviving that anyway? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Either way.
They'll get the 7th goal, and it'll go to VAR. It'll be disallowed in the 98th minute.
I couldn't handle it.
There won't be anyone alive in the stadium, by the way. Everyone is dead for heart attacks, but yeah. We'll win the league, Jack. No,
I tell you what, if it comes down to it, good. Either way, whatever happens tomorrow, I remember the Emirates, when I go there, and reception is dreadful. So I don't know how people are checking this stuff. You can't. It's really poor, isn't it, the reception there?
Bad.
I come over now with an international phone, but so obviously if I want to look stuff up, I look at my brother's phone.
Yeah.
It's poor, and if everyone's doing it,
there's not going to be no reception.
Obviously you'll get the vibe anyway.
I think so. I think you're going to have to rely on crowd reactions, Jack.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get no reception at all. It's going to be really weird. I don't know. Yeah. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird.
Yeah, when was the last time we took the league to the final day? Was it? Obviously, other than 2002 winning it in 2004, because we'd already won it.
Won it?
It was 99, wasn't it? I don't think we did it in 2000, 2001. Or maybe we did. Oh, no, we did 2002, 2003, maybe. When was the Adebayo or Les Ferdinand one? When we played Villa at home and they played Tottenham. Tottenham played United away. Because I think that might have been 2000. It might have been 2003 then, 2002, 2003, or it could be. I thought it was 2001 for some reason.
It must be as long as that. It's been a long time. Put it that way.
Yeah, I think it was 99, but yeah, it was 99 that. So unless we did it again in 02, 03, I can't remember if it went down to the last day on those ones and we missed out. It might well have done. It might well have done.
And the last time it's happened in the Prem, wasn't it, when Liverpool got 97 points and lost one game? So it must be.
Yeah, in fairness to Liverpool, they got 97 and 92 points and didn't win the league. And if you remember, everyone remembers the Gundogan moment where they were 2-0 down to Villa.
I know.
But there was also the Liverpool moment in that same time period where they were playing Wolves at home, I believe. And I don't know if you remember it because everyone just... The replays you see now is Gundogan, and Zinchenko comes on and changes the game to go from 2-0 down to 3-2 up. But if you remember, Liverpool were losing, I think, or drawing with Wolves at home, and Salah scores in the last 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a moment where he runs into the crowd, and they go mad, and the crowd look at him and go, yeah, it's 3-2 City. Someone said, you can see it. They go, it's 3-2 City, and he just goes... like that and sort of shakes his head. Right. So, in fairness to Liverpool fans, they've been through these moments and, Pep doesn't usually slip, does he? So no. Yeah, no. But in saying that...
tell me honestly, what do you reckon? With your head and heart?
It's hard, isn't it? Because most of your head tells you logic, and then there's that sort of, the 5%.
Conflict.
But, like you said, you got to believe. So I'll go 3-1 to Arsenal on... Obviously, I said Spurs get battered, as they do everywhere they go. But I'll say 3-1 to Arsenal against Everton. And I'll go Trossard for that one. Yeah. And then I'll go 2-2. Go 2-2 City. I'll say Antonio gets a double. And
that means we win the league, right?
That means we win it. I mean, obviously, that's the 2.5% heart.
Your scenario seems a lot more logical.
I don't think either of them are logical.
Then by 7-0.
It's more logical than that, yeah.
And then 8, and then Doug goes disallowed in the 98th minute. Can you imagine, though? Can you imagine the drama? My God. It would go down in history, wouldn't it?
I know.
You're going to win it, right, Jack?
It was, well, we've got to believe, and we've got to believe. I mean, we've taken it this far. They've got to slip up one day, so who knows?
No one else will be now. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it might as well be. I mean, they have looked imperious in the... I don't know if you caught a little bit of the... Was it Fulham game? And I was just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I caught a bit of it. I turned it off.
It was just ridiculous. I mean, Forest was the one... Because they were really poor against Forest, and they actually should have been a couple of goals down if Chris Wood... realised he had feet, but it's just that was the one I was watching that because they're the only team in their running that had something to play for. I mean, Tottenham do technically, they do have something to play for. They do, and but I don't think they'll see it that way really. To be honest, but you never know. You never know.
2-2 West Ham is actually quite a good shout. Thinking about it,
yeah. I'll look forward to speaking to you on Sunday when West Ham have been blattered 8-0 and David Moyes is there giving his goodbye away. My part of it goes, well, Moyes is probably their best coach they've had in my lifetime based on the trophy that he won. He got them into Europe 3 years in a row. I mean, I don't remember West Ham doing more than that in my lifetime. No offence to West Ham, I don't.
Well, they won the FA Cup, didn't they, 1980 against us?
Oh, there you go. Okay. 1980. Okay, yeah.
So I was crying, by the way.
Really? Well,
yeah, I was in tears, yeah.
Hopefully you're crying for different reasons on Sunday.
Yes.
But it's his last game is what I was saying. But, it's Moyes' last game. Maybe some of the collective go, we want to really give him something.
You never know.
I see more incentive there than I do with Spurs, to be honest. But either way, it might not matter with a juggernaut.
Okay, then having said that, so you'll feel all right if Tottenham obviously don't do anything tonight and get smashed. At least with what you're saying, there's still hope. Well, there is still hope. We're still in it. It's the last.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point, isn't it? Going down to the last day, everyone plays at the same time, and you sit there going, there's more to think about than just obviously we've got to win our game, of course, but But then, one eye could be possibly open on the other side of it. But so that's we've really kept the whole league going the last few months. There's nothing else. The relegation sorted, top four's basically sorted, I guess. We've really kept it going because Liverpool have had a major drop off. I mean, a crazy drop off.
Yeah, I thought they'd be in it.
Yeah, I mean they were. I mean, I saw a post after match day 30 where they were the favourites. And they were the favourites. I think they were 5 points clear, and everyone was going. They have the easiest running. They didn't have to play us.
That's right.
We had to play City. They didn't have to play us or City at that point. And so their drop off has been quite remarkable, to be honest.
But they're underachievers. They're not bottlers. Remember that.
Yeah, that's what I find that's ridiculous.
We're the bottlers.
Yeah,
but they're the underachievers.
Incredible. Yeah, the ones with all the players that have won it all. Are the ones that have not bottled it somehow. That's the silly narrative that really annoys me. But what will you do, Neil, if the results go your way Sunday night? What would you do? What would you do? Just hang around London?
I have not been. If the results go away, I will be there late until late hours. I think. Yeah. I don't know how I'll get home because it's Sunday service, but I don't care.
Doesn't matter, does it?
No.
Okay.
And I don't really drink much these days, but I think I probably will have a few.
Even I'd have a drink at that point, I think.
I think you need to, Jack. Come on. You have to.
Go first.
So don't ask me to pod at 7 a.m. on Monday because I'm going to say no.
We'll do it 7:15. All right.
What I was going to suggest, if we do it, we have to do a live show. I really
inside the stadium.
Oh, that would be we won't get the reception.
Live show. No, that's true.
No, that would be lovely if we could do that, but that's going to be tough. But we do need to do a live pod.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the moment to do it if something like that crazy.
We'll sort of celebrate.
But it's fantastic. I mean, it could be the disappointment, but I think the difference is, I don't remember '99 that well now in my head. I remember being there and stuff like that, but. When you're not expecting it you're not expecting it anyway. So the good thing is we were able to push it to that last day. When's the last day of the season with a possibility of winning the title? I mean, it's been years now. I mean, we've had top four moments and stuff like that.
Yeah, yes, that's right. That's the only thing I was going to say. The only thing we've had is top four. Yeah. Like, beating Spurs, coming ahead of Spurs a couple of times, didn't we? And obviously that was the last game at Highbury. That was another one where Spurs. That was the Sarnia gate, wasn't it, for them?
Yeah,
West Ham. Who are they playing? West Ham. There you go.
There you go. We need West Ham to do something to City's lasagna.
There you go.
It's true.
See?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I did say West Ham have been involved a couple of times, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you just
come on, Jack.
Come on. Come on. What we got? Well, we both predicted the obvious, so there you go. No expectations and all that, but no. Neil, either way, it's been great. Either way, we'll get on and pod about the season and talk about it. The collective, it's going to be the most points. I think it already is the most points since the Invincible season. And it's been a fantastic season. And the players, either way, will get a round in applause at the end of that game, and they deserve it. They really do. They deserve it. I know you're going to get these City fans coming out saying, you've done this, you bowled it, did it, all this sort of stuff. But in the end, I think they'll get a terrific reception because they've had a fantastic season, and we've had some great moments this season, and it's been a pleasure to watch. 27 wins out of 38, possibly 28.
28. Yeah.
28. I mean, that's an incredible effort, And I think if you got told that at the start of the season, you'd obviously be disappointed if you didn't win it, but you'd also be very, very proud to see your season through like that. And we've had some, massive games in there and massive wins. And we've done it against all the sides, big sides, obviously dropped points against a couple of the smaller ones, but the big teams, we've really showed up and shown our stuff, and that's something we lacked for a lot of times, especially away from home. And we've really proven that, especially in recent weeks as well. So
100%.
Yeah, Neil, fantastic win at Old Trafford. Can't forget that. It was a really big one. That might hold us in good stead for future seasons either, to have that that feeling. I know Arteta's won there before, but he won there when it was, no fans in there, and it was a very different Arsenal at that point. So this felt like a pretty big win. But we're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. Find us at Purely Arsenal on YouTube. Subscribe there. We'll be back after this final week of the Premier League season, and hopefully we'll be back cheering. But either way, we'll be back and we'll be talking. Tross is on fire right down to the wire. Up the Arsenal. Stay positive. Got to believe, like Neil said, got to believe.